Hey guys, just a quick pre-intro. This is Chris from the future here. The video you're about to see isn't going to be the most exciting one in the world because I did not get to finish what I had planned on doing. But I just wanted to say that I'm keeping it in there because there were a couple of mistakes that were made that I figure are important for anyone learning. And also at the point that I stopped the video was a point where I was getting frustrated, and an important part of working on guitars like this or any project really, if you're getting frustrated, stop. Walk away, give yourself some time, give yourself some grace, as a good friend Ted says, and come back to it. It's still going to be there. It is not the end of the world. A guitar is not your transportation. It's not something that's going to stop your day from happening. And working when you're frustrated, only bad things are going to happen. So I took some time away, and I'm going to come back to it for another part and finish the work. I got some advice from my friends, which is also another good thing to seek out if you're having trouble. So on with the show, guys, and we'll see you in the next one after this. Hey, guys, welcome back. We are going to try and finish up the V or get as far as we can today. I'm not going to promise that this is the finale. If the thumbnail says finale, you'll know that things went well. Before we get started on that, I did want to get a couple of quick thank yous and shout outs out real quick. First of all, the shirt I'm wearing, I just wanted to say thank you immediately to Brant over at Tonjaeger, and I'll link his channel below, and you should definitely check him out. He does a lot of work on guitars too, much better than I do, but is also just a great guy. And he recently uh, did a sponsored review of the makers of Howard's Feed and Wax. They make axe wax, and he was kind enough to send me over a sample because I had expressed interest in it too when we were chatting online. So thank you very much for that. He also included a very nice card with a personal note from me, as well as some more stickers, which I will always use. And Brant, I just always appreciate your support for my channel as well, buddy. Thank you. Secondly, something new, I also wanted to give a shout out uh, to Quest for Gear, and I will link their channel down below too. They very kindly gave me a very nice shout out on their channel recently. And who is Quest for Gear, you ask? Well, they if you are wondering about anything audio recording, analog audio, just so much equipment that he's gone over, much of which I don't understand, but I'm getting a slow understanding of it and getting some ideas for things that I can try in the future if we ever expand the studio space here. But even more than that, he takes his gear seriously, but not himself too seriously. And one of the mottos of the channel is "We mock the trolls," and he does indeed mock the trolls. So if you're going to his channel to troll, it's right there in the description. You know what you're getting in for. He does mock the trolls pretty hilariously, sometimes even in the form of song. So, be careful. Tread lightly in the comments section, folks. But seriously, go check out his channel. He's a good guy with some really good content, a lot of good humor in it, along with a lot of really good information. So with that being said, we're going to go in and look at the guitar. We will start with the view over here. You can see I've already taken the liberty of taking the strings off to the side because of what we're going to be working on. Because number one, that's boring. Number two, I don't need any more stuff to try and edit out of a video. So here we are. What we are going to do is basically replace the nut and then try and do the train tuning, relief, action, intonation, nut. And as someone else added, there should be a P in there somewhere, but it doesn't make a real nice anagram for pickup height, which you guys can't see right now because my fingers are out of frame. But once we have everything strung back up, I am going to try and do as much of a setup on this as I can, barring anything that I don't currently have a tool for. But the one thing that I would need a tool for seems to be fret edges, and these don't seem all that bad. There's a couple up here that could probably use just a little bit of love, but nothing that can't wait till I get these. I'm trying to save these strings because I like these goofy glow-in-the-dark rainbow strings. If for some reason the work I'm doing today makes it so that we can't reuse these, that's fine. I've got another set on my wish list on Amazon. We're going to move the axe wax out of the way here because I don't think we're going to need that with this glossy maple neck. And the back of it's glossy too, so I generally just kind of wipe those down. All right, so first things first, since we've got this stuff here, I'm going to try and get the nut out of here. It is a cheap plastic nut. I'm going to switch to the other camera to see if it gives us just a little better look. Actually, let me go back to that side view. Is that... Okay, yeah, it's just a different way the cameras are sitting. Never noticed how different that looks. Anyhow, this is a cheap plastic nut. That was not cut too well, to be honest, because I did set the relief on the neck and set the action as well as I could before, and I was still getting some fret buzz in places. Now, that's not to say that it's the nuts problem. There could be a couple of high frets. We'll have to figure that out once we replace the nut. I will set the relief on the neck to make sure it's very flat so I can check everything. Then I'm going to try and polish these frets up just a little bit. They were polished with some fret erasers before I changed the strings, but I'm going to actually use some fret polish and a little good old-fashioned elbow grease instead of pulling out the Dremel, because I don't want to make that kind of mess considering they're not really, really dingy. They're just a little tacky, so I think the fret polish will smooth them out, and then we'll clean the neck off. Then we'll string it back up, try and run the train. Again, there may be heavy edits in here. You guys have seen these procedures before on a lot of other channels that do it better than me. However, when I do run into problems, questions, and or mistakes, I leave those in so you guys can see. Anybody that's learning just like I am will see where the pitfalls are. The success stories are easy to watch. What you want to look at is, okay, that happened. How can I prevent that from happening to me? And I've had that from a bunch of the other folks that I consider mentors as well. So it's a good way to do things, in my opinion. What I want to do is get that nut out of there first so that we can clean up the nut slot. This nut is in there pretty good. I suspect that with it being plastic, this does not feel like it's just seated in there. It feels like they used some sort of glue. Being a not especially well manufactured guitar, I mean, it's made by a company for promotions. It wasn't made by Epiphone or Squier or even like Leo James at that matter. I don't know where this originated from. I'm assuming China, but there is no sticker on it. And considering that the only identification marks are the promotional company that commissioned these, that only tells me that the promotional company is located in the States. It tells me nothing about where they got these. But it's not terrible. I'll give them that. The pickups, the electronics, those were all terrible. That's why I replaced all of them. But the body, I'm sure, looking at scratches and dents down there, it seems to be probably some kind of manufactured wood. The neck, though, is definitely a maple neck, and actually is a pretty decent maple neck. Funny decal on the frets and all. The tuners I replaced. All right, let's see if we can try and rock this just a little bit. If I were working on somebody else's guitar or was a guitar I was terribly concerned about, I would probably tape up the frets that I was going to be addressing or working on. This is my guitar. I'm going to be careful with it. It's already not perfect, so I'm not terribly concerned. I'm not going to be doing anything with heavy files that could affect the finish here. Maybe at some point in the future. We'll see. We do have a little more space in there. I might try and tap. I can put a timestamp on this video. We lose an hour of sleep tonight, guys. I need a little screwdriver because I want to give that nut just a little tap to see if we can encourage it to leave. I'm actually going to do it from within the slot so I don't hit the neck, because honestly, this nut has to go one way or the other. That is being exceptionally tough. I will probably cut a few times in and out, but if anybody has any recommendations that I haven't seen already for trying to get this loose, please feel free to chime in. What we're going to be putting in there instead of this white nut is one of these red ones, a red bone nut, and it's not going to be plastic either. This was supposed to be for, I measured it, it was supposed to be the same width. The height actually looks to be pretty similar. This might be sitting a little higher, which actually is probably good because that'll give us room to cut down instead of having it be low and needing to shim. I did get under it, so I think we're going to see if that screwdriver is small enough to fit. It is. To fit under there, and if I can start to peel that away, we will get a little bit of leverage. Because the last thing I want to do is damage the nuts. I can see, damn it. See, this is why you would want to tape up the neck and you want to cut. I did damage the veneer on the neck a little bit. So that's going to be left in, guys. And the nut broke in half. That's a sure sign of a plastic nut. I think at some point, thankfully it's the first fret where I don't spend a whole lot of time up on those upper sides, but I think what I'm going to have to do, and I will depend on my friends in the community, Is that something I'm going to want to try and lift up and just clamp down with a little CA glue or super glue or something to try and smooth it out? Because yeah, I've definitely chipped a little bit of the neck there. Crap. So this is cautionary tale, guys. This is if you are uncertain of yourself or don't think you have the proper tools, the proper skills, obviously you can go to someone else and get this done. The issue that myself and a lot of others have with it is that for a really budget guitar like this, do you want to spend 50, 60, 70, upwards of $100 on a setup for a guitar that you got off a Facebook Marketplace for 50 bucks or less? In my case, that answer is no. That's why I did all the mods myself too. You do run the risk of something like this though. So if it is a guitar that you really value, be careful, tread lightly, and get help and spend money if you need. I do value this guitar because it was a gift from my brother. That being said, he would be right there with me trying to do this kind of work, so. I was able to, with the razor blade, get in behind and on the sides of this nut. I think if you look closely at this, I don't know if that's going to focus or not. It's hard to see. There is a lot of schmutz on the sides and back of this plastic nut. It definitely seems like they use CA glue. Now, in my particular opinion, I would not use CA glue to have a nut in there, especially if it's fitting right. Just a little bit of wood glue should hold everything in place just fine along with the string tension. In my opinion, the CA glue just makes it almost impossible to get out without doing some damage like I did here. But the good news being I was able to take just a razor blade and just kind of scrape up the stuff where it's lipped over a little bit, and it seems to be smooth. So unless that starts lifting up, in which case then I will probably take a little glue of some kind. Guys in the comments or in the Discord for the folks that hang out with me, please feel free to comment about what you would do here. It's not anything that I'm terribly cosmetically worried about. There's a little lighter colored streak there, but this isn't the most fantastically figured neck. It's not a bad looking neck by any means, but it is what it is. So there's that. Now I need to see how our other nut is going to fit in there. Well, number one, the width is correct. It is very tight in that slot. So what we're going to do is just file a little bit out. I don't want to move the slot because I don't want to change anything so drastically that it even slightly affects the scale length to the point where I would have problems with intonation. Trying to get rid of some of this extra glue schmutz in here. And we just want to make sure that the slot is level and we don't have any weird little bumps in it. So what I'm going to do is take my little Fret Guru fret rocker because it is skinny enough to fit in there. Feels like we have a little bit of a hump in the middle, and I don't know if that's... Yeah, there does seem to be a little hump in the middle because it does want to... Yeah, it feels like a little bit of glue stuff in there. See if we got a little thinner file that'll fit in there. Perfect. And guys, I'm hardly pressing at all. All I want to do is get out any imperfections, any little glue residue. I don't want to deepen or sand wood out of this slot. Let's take another look at that now. That's more like it. All right. So we can try and position this. So what we might need to do, get ourselves a piece of sandpaper and see about just, gotta stay flat. Shout out Chris over at BCG. All right, we have this nice piece of sandpaper here. I don't want to go too much because I don't know how well this is dyed and if I'm going to be scraping any of the color off of it. Yeah, that looks like we should be able to squeeze it down in there. Let me get my clamps and see if I can press those down in there because we have to knock it back and forth a little bit. It's obviously not sitting down in the slot. Do not want to break a nut. All right, we're going to try and take a clamp and see if we can use this to apply a little pressure to seat that properly. It does not want to stay smooth, though. Might not be my best idea. Just worth a shot. I hate pounding on things too much just because, I do have a second one that I can try again if I break this. I don't think this is going to apply enough pressure. Oh, heard it pop down, I think. Heard a little pop, it went down. To be honest, guys, I don't think I'm going to get that out of there and be able to put glue in. On the plus side, it's in there pretty solid. It is good side to side. After we get the neck cleaned up, we'll put string tension on, and then we'll use the Fret Guru XT and some feeler gauges to see what we've got to do to get this cut. And Geiger, we could be in good shape with it being cut properly, but you know, it's hard to say because they can't guarantee what size strings you're going to be putting on this. But it's in there, looks good. That little spot on the neck doesn't feel too bad, so I don't think I've done any irreversible damage that I'd have to use filler or stuff on the neck. So I think I'm good there. But again, that's a precautionary tale for folks trying to do this work on their own. So we've got that in there. I was going to do a quick little bit of elbow grease to the frets, and then we'll take some spray away to clean everything off after I'm done with that. I will keep talking to you guys while I am putting the fret polish on, but as I'm putting elbow grease into this, it is probably going to be incredibly boring for you, so that will be something that will come back and I'll go, hey, look, we've got strings on it. I will get better at this as it goes along. I already have improved to some degree, and that's the whole point of this. I'm going to go into quiet mode here to polish frets, so I will meet you guys when we are back with some shiny frets, or shinier anyways. All right, so we are back. I am going to just put a little bit of the spray away on the paper towel instead of spraying it all over because it's going to overspray that neck. I don't need stuff getting wet. I did put away a few of the things. All I'm doing right here, the neck wasn't really dirty, but I'm just using the spray away to get rid of any residue from the fret polish because I don't need that on the wood. Just clean that up, make it look nice. The frets weren't bad, but now they look just a little bit shinier, and they also feel a little smoother. When I took the strings off to the side, I noticed a couple spots on the frets that felt just a little dull, so that took care of that. Next, we're going to get a couple other pieces of stuff out of the way. Something I encourage you guys to do as you're working, have what you need at the ready if you remember. This is a channel where I will forget that often, so just be aware of that. And then as you're done with stuff, put it away so that you have things out of your way so you're not knocking stuff all over. It just makes it easier. So we've got the fretboard cleaned up, the frets on. We just need to tighten the strings back up and tune it. So I will get these over the top and then we can start tightening this up. I'm going to do that by hand because loosening with this thing is one thing. Tightening is yet another. I've accidentally done it where I've popped a string because it just tightens faster than I want it to. All right, I'm actually going to go grab my tuning pedal and get the feeler gauges out of my kit up here. Okay, this is going to be upside down for you guys. You are getting the benefit of seeing the first time I'm actually using my pedal here. I have to look at the manual to see about changing the color and whatnot, but it should be set up for A440 out of the box. All right. So from my understanding with a stroboscopic tuner, if you get it to where it stops strobing at the letter, that should be correct. I'll double check it with my clip-on afterwards, but okay. We'll just go back through them one more time just because as I tuned it up, it may have stretched or... Yeah, I think there's something with the nut there because on the B string, we are getting a little bit of sitar noise going on. That goes away if I hold it at the nut, so pretty sure it's coming from that. We'll see if that occurs when I cut it. And if it's still there, I will reach out to friends to tell me, what do I do with this? All right, I'm going to unplug the tuner from the guitar so I can lift this up and check the relief in the playing position real quick. Not a lot, but let's find the right Allen wrench. We got just a little bit of relief. I'm going to try and get it flat and see where we can go from there before I set the action. All right, so that was pretty tight, actually. But that seems to have helped. All right, that being said, the action looks to be a mile high, and I'm assuming that's because of the nut, because it is sitting rather high. So I don't know if you guys will be able to see that in the camera if I switch to the overhead again, but yeah, it's hard to see, but that action looks really high. If you can see that from that far away on a camera. I don't have these lowered all the way, but I also have a suspicion that the nut is pretty high. So I have a feeling that we might have to do this a little bit out of order and actually work on the nut just a little bit before we set the action, because I think when we lower that nut, it's going to get us a little bit of room to work with action-wise. So I've got a really crummy fret rocker here too, but this one does have the millimeter string heights on it. And as I'm looking at it, I want to be right around 1.5. This one also has the inches on it, so that's 0.6 or lower. So at the 12th fret. Yeah, the high E is sitting just around 1/100th of an inch. So not the thousandths. That is sitting about 2.6. That's way too high. I'm assuming that's across the board because they're all sitting pretty level. So next step, guys, we are going to get the feeler gauges out. So I got my feeler gauges. I should probably leave these out of the kit. These must have had something leak on them. That's gross because there must have been some kind of oil in there. This has extremely thin feeler gauges in it as well. We're not going to start with those. Yeah, give me a second. We'll be right back, guys. I got to clean these off. This is disgusting. All right, guys, we're back, and I did print out the thing that I got from the Fret Guru XD, which it basically has some guidelines for the gap between the gauge and the first fret. And all I need to do is find my capo, because we're going to capo this guy at the 3rd fret, which means I need to move this. Based on what I had on that sheet and in the setup video, sorry, I've got a few paper towels here because these are still a little wet. By the way, there was nothing in that Luthier's kit that I got off Amazon that would have had any sort of oil on it, so I don't know why these were greasy. Maybe it was just to make them slide apart better, but it was gross. Dawn Power Wash for the win there. I just spread these all out, sprayed that all over, rinsed them off, and that's why I'm still drying these off. They're still a little wet. Didn't want to make you guys wait. So what I've taken the liberty of getting out here are a 3/1000ths, 4/1000ths, and a 5/1000ths feeler gauge. They're saying that, between 5/1000ths and 8/1000ths would be the gap between the low E string at the 1st fret. And we'll see what we've got. So we'll start with the 3. There should be like little to no, yeah, there's absolutely no drag. In fact, I can press it down onto it. And I didn't mean to put away the other ones. So let's get those back out. 3, 4, and 8/1000ths. So if we get all the way up to 8 and I'm still having no drag. All right, we're back. I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8/1000ths because it does seem like there is an awful lot of room between that nut. Let's just go straight up to 8, and we're going to leave the others out though. Yeah, 8 and no drag. So that nut needs to come down a little bit. These are 9-gauge strings, using my nut files that Sparky sent me. Thank you, Sparky. Let's get this out of here. I need to get myself one of those string lifters. And we're going to angle it down towards the back because I don't want to take too much off, but is that the thick side? Angle it down towards the back just a little bit. When we're done here, we're going to put a little nut lube in the... Still no drag. That nut is so high. All right. Yeah, still absolutely no drag at 0.08. So I will probably speed through a few of these unless we come across anything. Needless to say, this nut is very high. I'm wondering if I maybe should have sanded some off of the bottom of that. In fact, I think that might be the way we go. I I think we're going to cut it here, guys. Let me get back to this. So also my mouse is telling me that it's dying, so I need to get it back. There we go. All right, guys, so we're probably going to call this a video. I know it's not everything we wanted to do. We did get the nut replaced, but rather than cut those slots way too deep and having to do this all over again, I'm going to compare this to the height of the old nut and see if I need to sand some off of the bottom of it, because I think that's what I need to do. It's something I should have checked first. So that's one lesson for me and one lesson for anybody watching this. Compare the old nut to the new one, unless the old one was just way too low. But I have a feeling this is sitting just way too high, and that's the opposite problem. This is a good problem to have because you can sand off. If it's too low, then you got to shim up or get a different nut. So I will be taking a little bit off of this at a time, and we will revisit this in a third video. So sorry that this one was kind of boring. All you saw me do was polish some frets and clean up the neck and put a nut in, but at least you did learn something a little bit about getting the old one out. We will see you guys next time.